Peace. In the name of Allah, I'm Aubrey Muhammad. I pray that everyone is well. Hempstead family, friends, and believers, welcome to my live session. This is about mom's return to Allah. I made my way to Eisenhower Park, and because it was beautiful out, I still got a little sunlight, a couple of minutes. The sunset, it's a little chilly and windy. It's very difficult. Mom returned to Allah last month, April 9th, about 2:30. I was there at Northwell Hospital. As you know, I camped in with her. I was with her every day at the hospital. When she went anywhere, I was with her. And luckily for me, so pardon me if I choke up, because every time I speak of her, remember her, I get a little choked up still, like a month later, and which is normal. All praise is due to Allah. And I actually was a little prepared, but you never prepared for this, you know. I was a little prepared because I was living with Mom for years, every day. I was looking out for her. I was there by her side every day. It got to the point, it was every step of the way, helping her every movement almost. I was helping out Moms. And the weeks coming up must have been like three weeks before she had that pneumonia. I was crying every day for weeks. You know, I saw it coming. Mom, she was chronically ill. You know, she had congestive heart failure, and Mom had like about half of her kidney power, half of her heart power. And she was 83, and everybody, we saw the decline, and I was talking to people about it. I was talking to her about it. Mom didn't like talking about no death. Mom was not like that, even though she understood. In our prayers, we prayed a couple of times a day. We prayed all day, most of the time. And sometimes our minimum was a couple of times a day. Me and Mom's prayed so much every day. If a few of them prayers get answered, this world will be a better place. You know, those prayers was, oh Allah, seek a refuge from anxiety, grief. You know, the one we do 7 a day, Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad prescribed to us. We did that often, then we added on to our family, our friends. We prayed for others. And you know what was special in Mom's prayers? What was very special was she prayed for those children at Avalon, that Allah guide and protect them as they grow up to be wonderful adults. That children who came and knocked on her door and prayed for her and came to help her. It was children who were really the only ones who knocked on her door, said, how can I help? It was a few others, I discussed them before, it was brothers ready to get busy. And let me make this public statement now, because I did mention this before, how it was brothers who was ready to roll for Moms. And if you know Mom, you grew up with her, knew her in the hood, brother or sister, don't feel left out because Mom has special favor for them. These brothers were ready to roll. Mom admired that. And brother Rasheen, Trey, Rob, and Rumpa. And Rumpa has a medical challenge now. I gotta go see Rump again. They were dear to Mom's heart. Rob, Fletcher. It was a few brothers who was ready to go do business with these trolls that was harassing and bothering Mom. I'm around the corner from that Avalon. Brothers was ready to go over there, but it was a trap. It was those owners, that Blackstone, that BlackRock, State Street. You know who they are, the Epstein gang. So it was a trap. They were waiting for us to be violent, to say, look, these violent people associated with her, and throw her out. They were just waiting for the reason. So Mom took pride in that, and it was also, I mentioned that no FOI came over to help Mom. No, not one of my brothers in the FOI came over to hug Mom, to hold her hand, comfort her, give her strength, say, I got you. Not one FOI did that. All of these were my childhood friends, and 95% brothers. But it were FOI who offered me to stay at their homes. It's FOI who offered, or when they would give you that problem, you were not feeling well, they were doing all type of weird stuff over there. Now, who could do stuff like that? The deep state, that Epstein gang, that BlackRock. they could mess over people and do things from apartment. So I almost died twice. They tried to kill me twice. One through poisoning and some other means, I don't know, that affected my nerve. And it was a few FOI that Brother Marcus, Brother John, and another family, a beautiful family, him sit on Cedar Street that welcomed me in, that housed me. Brother Marcus with the barbershop, and it was Brother John, and them mainly three, maybe one more, I can't recall right now, but that said, you know, come stay at my shop, come stay at this spot, just to help you out. And I appreciate that. But I especially shout out to Brother John, because he was asking brothers in the mosque to come help me and my family. They rejected him for whatever reason. That's because you got Judases that micromanage the nation. Judases, the deep state, that Epstein gang. They control all organizations. You're a fool if you don't think so. So Mom really appreciated the brothers who were stand-up brothers, ready to throw, ready to come, ready to deal. That's what we need. More action, more love. That's your love when you're ready to shed your blood for somebody else. Like I do, I offer myself, I'm a fighter. So that's honorable, that's noble. All praise is due to Allah. And Mom appreciated that, all right? So if I say that, all praise is due to Allah, many of you supported us in other ways. Thank you, all praise is due to Allah. You sent donations, you offered legal help, you offered counsel, you know, you offered encouragement, and your prayers are the most powerful thing. Your prayers and your concern. Prayers of concern are golden. Prayers and concern are golden. When you pray for someone, then prayers come true, you know. And Mom appreciated that because, you know, Mom was my mother, and growing up, you know, she's still here. The righteous don't die. In Islam, you know, Allah, the righteous live with him. The souls return to Allah. When you sleep, Allah take your soul, and he permits you to wake up with your soul again. I'm going to read a little of the Quran about that. In Surah 2, the cow, verse 154, and do not speak of those who are slain in Allah's way as dead. Rather, they are alive, but you do not perceive. The righteous live. The eternal is beyond us. You know, so I was sort of prepared when Mom returned to Allah, and physically, the medically, you know, they killed her. They murdered her at Northwell Hospital. It was, they did her meds, her heart meds. It was horrible. I witnessed it. I'm not going into detail, but they did that on purpose. Don't you? Now, this is what hurt me more. The part that hurt me more was I had some relatives who were mentally ill. I have a mentally ill relative. We all do. You all got mentally ill relatives. That remember the Temptations movie? David Ruffin, played by Brother Leon. He was going to the cook at the festivities at the cookout of Motown. And he was walking up to the cookout, and Otis Williams said, money don't make you a bad person. It bring out what's in you. Whatever bad is in you, money amplify it. You know what I'm saying? Money gives it a platform. Money gives it a means. And money, the lust of money is the root of all evil. I said that at Mom's eulogy. And let me correct something right now, because also at Mom's eulogy, I spoke of Reverend Arthur Miller at the Art of Living Church on the Heights on Clinton near Bradley Park. I quoted him, and I misquoted him for two things. One thing he said, but the other he did not. Reverend Arthur Miller, may Allah be pleased with him. I think we were related. He was from North Carolina. Him and his beautiful wife, and Brother Arthur, my good brother, are from North Carolina, and we always thought we were related. A few of us in Hempstead were related. Mr. Parker, Mom spoke of that. But Arthur Miller said at a dinner, we were all at the dinner at the Art of Living Church, he said, you know, he spoke about me. He said, you know, me and Aubrey, he said, we've never met. From years ago in Hempstead, he said, but we've met. He said, we've never met, but we've met. That's where Minister Farrakhan is. People don't physically meet Minister Farrakhan, but we've met. Allah fashioned him in heaven. Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad said that. Said Allah fashioned you for me. The living Christ said that about Minister Farrakhan. That's true. The personification of love. That man is wrapped in love, saturated with love for us, the black man and woman in America, and foundational black Americans, and the rest of humanity. So I said that at Mom's eulogy at the Judah Bethlehem Church across from the middle school, at Mom's going home service, which was complicated because of mentally ill relative. Damn. I said that Arthur Miller also said that why older black women have the nice china set stowed away in the china closet or set out on the dining room table that nobody can use. Our mothers and grandmamas and aunties have those fine china sets. Mom had the whole set out too, set up on the dining room table. I think I showed pictures of it doing those cooking videos. Mom never served guests who came over the house with that, in those plates. And for years, I wondered why. I said, Mom, you know, you got this out. This stuff is nice. And one day, some of her friends, they were from the Caribbean. You know, one was from Guyana, and the other from Haiti. Yeah, she's from Haiti. Excuse me. And they had sat down, came over Mom's house, came over the apartment at Avalon, and they had brought some food. So Mom had brought out like some regular dinnerware. She even had like some paper plates, the paper utensils, the plastic utensils with some regular dishes. And they would wonder, why aren't your guests eating from that fine china? Why isn't the best stuff? It's for your guests. And there was Reverend Pastor Darcy. He's a beautiful man. He's in his 90s. I did a video of his reminiscent of life, an overview of his life in Rockville Center. He was born in the 1920s in Rockville Center. He said that one of his parents, one of his relatives, elder relatives, kept fine china on the dining room table and in the china, the break front or the china closet, reserved for Jesus when Jesus came over the house. That was Pastor Darcy Roosevelt. He said when Jesus come over, you could serve from those dishes. They preserved those dishes and glasses and that fine china for Jesus to return. And I told Mom, I said, Ma, you can serve Minister Farrakhan from that china when he comes to visit. And that was something to her. She agreed with that. But that was Reverend Pastor Darcy. He said that. And that was the beautiful hospitality we had from the South. You know, Mom, she kept a good heart. You know, Mom, she didn't grow up like with roses. Mom left North Carolina in '61, came to Hempstead, and her and her girlfriend Marcella was cleaning white folks' homes, I think Jewish neighborhoods in Lynbrook in the area. And she went to Brooklyn, she went to other parts of Long Island temporary for those jobs. But she stayed in Hempstead since then. And when she came up, you know, her life in North Carolina wasn't roses. The roses in Mom's life, it wasn't Guns and Roses either. It was roses with a few thorns. If you go looking through nice flowers, some of them, the roses very beautiful. They have little thorns under there. And that's the way Mom grew up. She had a little toughness in her. You know what I'm saying? So she came up in '61, and she had me, Yvette, and Shona, and we grew up in different parts of Hempstead, and Mom was living with a tremendous amount of families from the South. Black families from the South, especially, they caught back up with each other at the Motor Hotel in West Hempstead. That's when it was nice. I believe social service was housing families there. At the Motor Hotel, that's when it was nice. It later on became the Courtesy Hotel, a raunchy, grimy place. But back then it was nice. Edith, Daisy, oh my God, Alberta, a whole bunch of her friends from the South. They all got together and all of us were extended family. So the children, I have pictures of that, and the family albums, and it was huge families, and we looked out for each other. So we had a good upbringing. We were looking out for each other, and our moms would take their little money and save it up. They would buy the green stamps for food. When they bought something, they got those green stamps. Mom bought us bank accounts as children. She got us all bank accounts, life insurance. They took that little money they did have. We wasn't poor, but we were struggling, you know what I'm saying? Until eventually during the 70s, we got the house. She moved to Uniondale for a minute. Me and Anthony Walton were over there. His mom, Mary, may Allah be pleased with Mary. Brother Anthony, my mom and your mom, they in Allah's bosom, looking at us. My mom is alive. I often say sorry. When I touch some of her belongings, I say, sorry, Mom. When I go through a supermarket and I pick up a few things and I pass the things I normally used to get her, especially the soups. Mom used to love the chicken soups, but she lost her appetite for them. I would say, sorry, Mom. You know, I would normally get that. I must do that over 30 times a day. Because Allah says the righteous live, and they do live. And I could feel her nodding at me. You know what I'm saying? Mom's present. I mourn for weeks and weeks and weeks, you know, but the more I think of her, the better. And all praise is due to Allah for y'all who came in with the comments, the phone calls, the condolences, the prayers, the hugs, especially my sister Andrea. Sister Andrea, we was at the homegoing service at Judah Church. You met me at the door. Good Lord, sister. That hug you gave me, it was the world. It was all the righteous, it was Allah himself holding me, saying, young man, it's going to be all right, because I am a young man at heart. By the will and grace of Allah. Allah elevates us, puts us on top. Did you know that? But sister, they have a saying that the weight of the world is on your shoulders, and they get relieved, you lift it off, or you lift up a burden. You know, your ease thing, the comfort. Andrea, that was so awesome. I was so choked up then, I couldn't speak. But then after that big hug you gave me, sister, that warm kiss and that big hug, it was purification. Our tears are purification. Tears are salt. What are we? Salt of the earth. Black Mother Earth. We came up from Black Mother Earth. We shall return. You don't cremate people. I wanted to cremate. I refuse to do that. I bury Mom to Black Mother Earth. I wanted to put her in white linen, but that didn't work out. That's another aspect. That negative aspect of that, I'm not even going to mention, because Mom had that hospitality and that Southern charm and that little toughness in her, you know what I'm saying? But it was mainly hospitality, all right? Because you had to be tough. Coming from North Carolina, black people. Minister Farrakhan, when he grew up in Boston, his mama, Samaya Farrakhan, may Allah be pleased with her eternally, and his dad, he said never met his dad, like me too. I heard of him, but Mom never mentioned him. Twice, I think, she mentioned him. We never knew our dads. He was from Jamaica, a light-skinned black man like me, and his mom, a very dark-skinned woman, a so-called dark-skinned woman, Samaya Farrakhan, beautiful black woman. Was in Boston with other Caribbean family members. So Minister Farrakhan was born in the Bronx. And when he was very talented, so it was time for him to go to school. I think he had a track scholarship, something like that. I believe it was. He didn't choose some easy school. He didn't choose the best school. He didn't choose the opportunity like a lot of immigrants you see. They just come for the opportunity. That's why when the opportunity gone, they gone. Mr. Farrakhan said, I want to experience what black people in America have been going through. He went to North Carolina. I think that's Winston-Salem Teachers College. That's the same college Mayor James Garner went to. Our people from North Carolina were catching hell down there. We had two smaller versions of Black Wall Streets down there, Durham and Wellington. During Reconstruction, we flourished. We excelled because we are excellent. We are Allah's chosen. We was on top, and left alone, we rise like the cream. Mayor Garner and his son Darryl, they go back and forth there. I believe they're back down south. But Mayor Garner went to that school too. Minister Farrakhan said he went to the school because he wanted to experience it. Sure enough, the segregation that Mom spoke of was there. Mom went to segregated movie houses, schools. They had to sit up in the back. and go through a one back entrance. Mom used to do that. You know what I'm saying? Mom, right in North Carolina, Mom, they didn't like white folks. My family doesn't like white folks. My family is foundational Black American, and I think on my mama's side is mulatto, and we're native Black, indigenous Black people. We come from some of the tribes down there. You can tell from that's another long story. I can't get into that. But we had that mixture of native Black, African, from more like, I think, that Nigerian area of West Africa. But we are native Black also. You can tell by our hair and our complexions, generationally. And we have some white. And the mulatto is from my grandmama's side, all right? We never rejected any of that, but the whites didn't accept us. The whites don't, all Black families are like that. All families are blended like that, in essence, you know what I'm saying? All Black families from the South, you got some admixture, you got some, whatever you want to call it, is actually grafting from original. If you're the scientist and the God and you know what time it is. We embrace all of that. We don't just reject the native Black and say, I'm an African. And we don't deny the African, but we don't jump up and say we solely African, because we're not. We're native Black. And a little, maybe some native red, a slight. And white. So we embrace all that. We are foundational Black Americans. We had an ethnogenesis. We are unique people. We are Allah's chosen. That's why we're on top. We're the most talented people on the planet. God damn it. If you envious of that or jealous of that, live with it. Damn, that's who we are. So we come from that, and we kept that Southern hospitality. We had that toughness in us, coming from that racism, that segregation. So Minister Farrakhan came on to help our people. So you see him in New York at 55, helping our people, accepting his own and being himself. And the rest, you know how the story goes, and how it's going to end with us on top with a new world, with the beautiful heart of our beloved father, Minister Farrakhan. Well, he chose North Carolina, and Mom came up from that. So in New York, wasn't no damn relief. We in the 70s, in the late 60s, yeah, my first memories are from the hotel. I have 3 first memories. My cousin, Kenny Richardson Nova, well, his street name was Nova on the Heights, Kenny Richardson. I pointed him out before when I was over at the Heights in front of the American Legion, which a lot of foundational Black American veterans attended the post, especially one on the Heights. I showed a picture of that with Earl Hightower, my stepfather. So we came up on the Heights, and we came up from the South. We had that Southern hospitality, and we had the extended family. We had the experience, and the experience brought us together, and we recognized the racism from the South. We didn't flee from there, and we recognized the racism up here. And my first 3 memories, one was Kenny Richardson throwing that rock from what seemed like a football field distance, but later on in the 80s, I think I went over to the hotel and I saw how short that distance was. You know, when you're young, distances seem long, but when you grow up, you say, man, this little small place, I used to live here. Apartment you walk in, you grew up, and you say, wow, this place is tiny. I thought it was huge when I was small. That's where that parking lot was. Kenny Richardson took that rock and threw it, and I have a scar on one side of my eyebrow from that. I forgot which one it is, because later on the Heights, I was hanging out high on angel dust, and Tank knocked some sense into me. I was high on angel dust, bugging out. Tank said, yo, oh, stop tripping on me, man. I was tripping on angel dust, and Tank knocked some sense into my ass. That was funny. May Allah be pleased with Tank, my man. Beautiful families in the South. We was hanging out there, and that's when I was in the street. But Kenny Richardson put that scar on my eyebrow. Then I have another memory of me taking a remote. This is in the 60s, the late 60s. I was a couple of years old. I have memories from this. And of me taking a remote control dune buggy. It had the cord, and it had the little steering wheel, and a little, with the batteries in the remote with the steering wheel, and the wire went down to the dune buggy, and if you turned and pressed the gas, excuse me, the little dune buggy would go, do flip wheelies and stuff like, wheelies. It would flip and do wheelies, stuff like that, little tricks. And I was amazed. I was a couple of years old. I was amazed at how that could happen. How that was called transition. That's transitive power. That's what real power is, transitional power. A little movement creates a big action. A little energy gets more energy out of it. So I was fascinated by that. So I went and took the thing apart. I was a couple of years old, taking this stuff apart to see how it worked. They said, Aubrey, Daisy said, why you take that toy apart? I said, I want to see how it worked. And then there was the daring, then there was the warning. Because black parents was whooping ass in the 60s. Yeah, you got them whippings, boy. My whippings wasn't so bad then. I got my worst ones in the 70s. But in the 60s, I had my bike with the training wheels, and they warned us, don't go near the train track. That's the West Hempstead train station that was at the hotel. But back then, it wasn't hard. It was a little tiny platform. You had to step up onto the train. That was a big, huge train. I have a picture of that. And that train was huge. It was just the tracks, and that station was almost non-existent. It was like a platform, some little simple platform. And that train was huge, and we was warned over and over and over, stay away from the cars and don't go near them train tracks. You know, and one day, I was on my little bike with the little training wheels. Yeah, I was that young. And I started going towards them train tracks, and my cousins yelled to me, Aubrey, don't go near the train tracks. And I stopped and I got scared and I jumped off. That's my 3 first memories. I have 3 first memories. And of those memories, I remember in the late 60s and the early 70s, our people did not like white people. Our people we were warned of white people. Our people used to say, don't trust white people. Be careful of them. You couldn't walk alone. Oh, hell no. You couldn't walk alone in a neighborhood. This was in Hempstead. And my cousins was over in Lawrence. That was a Jewish neighborhood, Lawrence. Over there by Cedarhurst. Yes. We would play with the children, the black children there. We couldn't play with them Jewish children. They were the most segregated people and the most racist. Yes. We were out at the high school in, didn't I just say Lawrence? That's right, Lawrence High School. That old racist coach. Me and my cousins, Eagle, Rod, and Reb, and their friends, they were older than me. I was a little child. This was the early 70s. We were playing at the school, the high school, and the Lawrence school, high school, had the football practice over there. So we were playing basketball, and I think the basketball got away and started bouncing towards that football field, and I was about to go run get it, and my older cousin Eagle, Heron, he said, no, don't, I get it. He went over there and got it. And as that basketball bounced towards them Jewish students at that Lawrence High School, they all froze. All of them froze. And that racist ass coach, you coward, you're a coward, sat up there and didn't say, hey, y'all, let me go get the basketball, throw it to them. Let them have fun. You know what I'm saying? They treated us, they froze. They were staring at us. That whole football team and that racist ass goddamn coach. That's what I grew up with. We were always warned of the Caucasians, you know what I'm saying? Up in the 70s. So we always had that in the back of our head. And we always had to look out for each other. So that's the way Mom was. Mom would tell us to look out for each other. She would save up her money. We moved to like 33 East Graham. So I'm gonna be real brief, y'all, just a couple of minutes. I just want to give you an overview of Mom's energy of looking out for family and how she didn't treat everybody right. Them ass whoopings came. The humiliation came. She, you know, they would cuss you, our families would cuss you out. And when they were whipping you, the pain that their parents put on them would come out through you through that belt. You heard Richard Pryor do that routine when his mother was whooping ass. I think she even pulled out a cord or something from a hot water bottle or a belt, and then be talking in caterings. Don't you run from me long as you black. They whipping you and they doing, and they got a cadence as they doing it. Don't you ever run from me. You ever heard that? I did. I grew up like that. I got those type of ass whoopings. But all that pain was put on my ass, and the whoopings were excessive, okay? So that's the way all black parents was. And our aunties and other relatives could whoop your ass. So we was warned to them. You know, we knew which parents we played with, which parents you didn't. And my mom was one of them parents you didn't play with. She would whoop our friend's ass. You get an ass whooping. You got some little food, you got some dessert, you got some toys, you got some money to go to the store. They used to give us, the boys, a little money to do things around the house. They would give us a little money to do things, especially as a teenager, to go to the store, especially at 299 Jackson. So there was, you know, there was a benefit, there was an incentive, and then there was a penalty, all right? And mom was embedded like that. She was with her friends. Her main friend was Diane, back at 33 East Grand. So mom had that mentality of caring for the children, and it was a lot. It was a lot. I felt my mom's pain growing up, all right? And I was getting in trouble. I was disobeying her. That's my nature as a man. You ain't got a father to check you. My stepfather, Earl Hightower, he checked me. Hell yeah, Earl Hightower, he's a Vietnam veteran. This is a Veteran Memorial Park here. I don't know where Earl is. I think Earl is out in near exit 63. What is that? The military burial ground. I believe he's there. But right, these are like war veterans who from World War II and stuff. They have memorials to Vietnam. You have to be really some high rank, or it would be. Yeah, this is not. It is individuals here. I do see the names, but it's for like the World War II, the Korean War, the big wars and stuff. Vietnam. They got POW right here, POW MIA. They give a shout out to them and scene. They didn't give a damn about American soldiers. They only care about the rich. So mom, you know, she had that love and it was balanced. So growing up, mom, you know, she hugged us, she took care of us. And then back in the 70s, she started, you know, saving money, started getting things for us. When we were young, we never were poor, but we always had things. So we were sort of like grateful. Nobody teased us. You know, we didn't get teased for the simple things we had. So mom always looked out for us. Mom always had that caring, you know, that caring for others. And I mentioned this during the eulogy that it's a sister that, a big black family from the South, over on Elizabeth, is a big black family. The younger sister, I used to like her. But in the 80s, she was smoking crack, man, getting into trouble. We was at 299 Jackson. Me and mom was in the kitchen, and she had walked by, and mom's called her in. And this sister from a big black family, she was one of the younger ones. She was my age, and the other family members were older than us, so we knew of each other and hung out. So we were talking, and that sister was suffering, man, from drug addiction. And when mom gave her that hug and sat her down and gave her something to eat, and she sat there and we were talking to her, the burden left off that sister. That sister was relieved. That sister just, you know, she broke down. Because mom was showing her love, that Southern hospitality, you know. So that was the essence of mom. And I have a lot more to say, but I wanted to speak of also mom. She showed appreciation towards me. Mom, like 80 or 90% of the time, mom would say to me, "You my son, I'm so thankful for you. You could be doing something else. You're helping your mom." Not only did I care for mom, all those years that she was under that bullshit at Avalon around the corner, being harassed, I lived there off and on. Most of the time, my reason for being there was to protect her, to be enforcement and a guard for her. And she would show appreciation. She'd say, "Thank you, I'm grateful." You know, that was about 80, 90% of the time. And when I left her, and she was very feeble health, as y'all noticed, I would have her on FaceTime. She started getting a little dementia, and she had anxiety. Yeah, she would have anxiety attacks. She took CBD and THC drops to help with that. So when she would leave, and that dementia would kick in a little, and her congestive heart, when her heart failed her, that set her mind off in different directions too, and it wasn't dementia. Her dementia was slight. It was her congestive heart failure that had her mind going random. You know, because when they got her in the hospital and got her on the oxygen, got her the IV and got her those heart meds and stuff, and that she had the AFib. You know, when that AFib straightened out, her thoughts would get clear. You know, so when she was at home under that duress, she would start speaking randomly, and she would know people. Sometimes she would forget who I was. She would forget who others were. And that hurt me a lot. I say, Mom, it's me, your son. She would call out for Allah. She would say God. She would say God. I would say Master Fard Muhammad, Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad Farrakhan, and she would say Amen. She would always amen it in prayers. We prayed all day, most of the time. You know what I'm saying? When no one helps you, Allah makes you angels. And we are angels. All praise is due to Allah. That's how I brought her back when she was in that emergency room. With my hand on her shoulder and one hand in her hand. They were getting ready to put her on the tube. They were getting permission to me to put her on the tube in the throat, the incubator. Intubator, you know, the tube that goes down there. And they were getting ready. And Allah brought her through. All praise is due to Allah. So Mom, she would show appreciation when her mind was set, and when it was right, I would monitor her, because she would wake up and her blindness had came in a couple of years. Her vision diminished. She had glaucoma. So her vision would be in one eye, and she could see a little. And when Mom got to the point about 6-7 months ago where she lost all her vision, you know, that fear got in her because she didn't know, and when she was being harassed. So one thing, when her vision finally went, she lost her fears. You know, I would be monitoring her, and Mom said, I ain't scared of nobody. At Avalon, she used to grab mace. She had a can of mace. She had a weapon in her hand. She would hold a weapon close to her for somebody knocking on the door, all type of strange stuff. They were trolling her. Black Rocks, Blackstone, the Deep State, that Epstein gang. They were trolling her. But at the Woodcrest, when she finally lost her blindness and she got feeble health, she couldn't move, she lost them fears. The most I would monitor her on a FaceTime is if she woke up and she didn't know where she was at. I would come off mute. I would say, hey, Mom, it's me, Aubrey, your son. She would come too, you know, and she would show appreciation all the time. But then she did tell me, there was a moment where she said, you know, in the hospital, she was under low dementia. She didn't like how the nurses were treating her, and I camped in with her every day. But there was a point where she spoke to me, and she said, you know, I don't like how you treated me. And that was some times where I would be angry, I would be frustrated, I would be, you know, when I would be expecting Mom to react to things, to eat a certain way, or whatever it was. I was projecting my strength onto her, which was wrong. And then I would have to walk in her shoes. That was difficult, being with somebody every day. I would get impatient. I would blow my teeth, blow my breath. Come on, Mom. Then when she went blind, I was standing in front of her. I would say, Mom, come on, I got to clean this stuff up. Would you please, let's do this together. Let me move this. And Mom was a little tough, so it would be frustrating. And I would say, Mom, could you? And I go, Mom. I would smack my thigh. And after a while, she said, what is that? She stopped, right? She said, what is that? I said, and I didn't lie. Most people say nothing. You know, I said, Mom, because I'm angry. I'm impatient with you. I said, I'm trying to do this. And so when I smack my thigh like that, I said, oh, gosh, you know, and she rolled her eye at me. She rolled her eyes at me. She did that like about maybe 2 or 3 times. But it wasn't all roses with me and Mom. It was roses with little thorns. But Mom appreciated me. She said it often, 80% of the time. And it's all like that. And that's why I'm making this live. Because 2 things struck me. How we are abused. This is a tribute to Mom and a sort of memorial. I'm going to do a full story of her. I was going to take the camera and go around to different parts of Hempstead where we grew up. You hear me mentioning the places, and really, really go into my upbringing, because it's a phenomenal story of coming up from North Carolina and keeping your roots connected while growing and prospering and meeting plenty of friends in those extended families. How we have to form, and I've said this before and I'm saying it again, but this is the highlight, is 2 things that struck me as a lesson during Mom's return to Allah. One, we need our own hospitals. We need our own care centers. We got to stop letting strangers and immigrants care for our parents and our loved ones and our children, even medicine, doctors. We got to start looking out for each other. We got to form an ethnic wall. This is very important. We got to look out for each other. We got to become more extended family. And this is you being more kind and patient and respectful towards each other. The family feuds that came out during this goddamn time were phenomenal. Money. The lust of money is the root of all evil. Some in the Bible say it's the love of money. It's the lust of money. Money turned people cold. Osama Elijah Muhammad said that. He said the one thing he didn't like about business is it turned his spirit cold. Osama Elijah Muhammad said that to Minister Farrakhan. He didn't like business so much because it turned him cold. We need that warm spirit of love and truth. We need to look out for each other. All right? And two, now what was the note I made? The friendships, our own land, lifelong friends. The one is get the care, our own care. This must be done. You got to humble yourself towards each other. We got to learn how to take a lot from each other. That mentally ill person, I don't have revenge in my mind for them. My mentally ill relative, that coldness that came out of them, the ruthlessness that came out of them, that put all this hardship on me, I still need your help. I had to sell most of my stuff. I'm not going to go deep into it. I had to sacrifice all my belongings, a lot of my stuff, to bury Mom. I'm not going to go into any further than that, but I'm just asking for your help, okay? Sheesh. I'm going to put the GoFundMe up. Please contribute to it. I need your help, family. You know they throwing me out the spot. I got to find another place, hopefully, be the will of Allah. I got to get a 1-bedroom. Me and Mom were on the waiting list for 2 bedrooms, but now I'm on the 1 bedroom. So the lawyers, the courts were working against us. They're working together with the owners. I told you it's the Epstein gang. Yes, this is for real. And that was my source of employment. I got to come up with another income to be gainfully employed. So I'm going to put up the GoFundMe to help boost me, to get me back in stride. Please support that. I'll put it up going towards the weekend. The friendship. During the comments, when I would come in the comments, under Mom's going home memorial, the announcement of a going home service, people would comment, a whole bunch of people that we grew up with, some from the 60s, a lot from the 70s, and some from the 80s. And I remember growing up with a lot of our family and friends and relatives and neighbors. I don't like the word neighbor as much as friend. Neighbor is kind of a little cold distance to me. I'll say it sometimes, but friend is better. During the 70s, I would say, oh yeah, it's good hearing from you. I appreciate you. May Allah grace you, my lifelong friend. And I thought about that. I said, what is a lifelong friend? That means it's somebody that you grew up with like 50, I'm 60. So you grew up 50 years ago, 40, 50, you know, someone from decades. And even though a friend is somebody, you know, that's close to you, a friend is somebody you call all the time, you hang out with, you go places, all right, that's a friend. That's a companion. You have companions and you have associate friends. You know what I'm saying? You got tight friends, that's your companion, and you got friends in general that y'all interact with each other, you break bread with each other, then you got associates. Even those 3 degrees, if you've known each other for decades, become more friend-like, my lifelong friend. That was beautiful to me. Knowing we're growing up in the 70s, I remember your name. We remember each other, and we see each other years later and say, oh yeah, I remember you, we grew up with each other. Then we reconnect and we communicate with each other. We got to stay in communication. Lifelong friends. Form an ethnic wall to care for each other. We must do it. It's got to get done. And lifelong friends. Those are 2 things that struck me during Mom's return to Allah. Got to treat each other well. Treat yourself well. Pray, fast. You know what I'm saying? Sacrifice. You got to put more love towards each other, more forgiveness. Don't be. Cold people, oh my God, they dead already. Cold people, you just got to put them back in the earth. Had a sister say, oh, I don't want to go in that earth. You don't want to go in the oven. You better stay in love and go back to Black Mother Earth where we came from. That's where I'm going to ride. And if I do get some money, when I have some money, I'm going to buy some land in North Carolina where my family was and get it under a trust and bury my mom and my nephew there. My family that's tight, those of us that's going to pass, I will reserve our own land. And we got to have that under a trust. That's what we need to be doing. That expensive ass cemetery. And look at how they let social service cremate you. Now, if you cremate your family, you know, I'm not holding that against you. I'm just saying it's better to bury. Look how the enemy wants to cremate you. Social service will pay to cremate you. That should tell you something right there. We got to get land. We got to get trust. If you are from the South, you are Black American that are native to this land, you are foundational Black American. You're freedmen. Go to freedmennation.org. Get verified. Get your lineage done. We got to start teaming up together, start doing stuff together. We got to form an ethnic wall. That's my message. Long live the spirit of my mom. She came from the South, came up here, and then reconnected with her friends. That was one of her most hurtful times too. Mom was hurt when she reconnected with her friends these last couple of years. Mainly at Avalon, she would talk to her friends all day. They passed. Then when she moved to Woodcrest, she was speaking to her friends again, mainly in North Carolina and California. Right. Most of her friends were in California. Her family, physical blood family relatives, and friends from her childhood. Her lifelong friends in North Carolina and Los Angeles, California. She would connect with them. Some of them started passing. I had to stop telling her that they passed. A few got out, but elders, when they get up in age like that, you got to stop telling them that their friends passed. Mom would she couldn't eat. She would, it would take a lot out of her. The passing of my nephew Donald took a lot out of her, and Sonny. That's a whole nother story, because I'm wrapping this up, y'all. Care for each other. Make lifelong friends. Be more friendly with each other. Foundational Black Americans. We can rise a mighty Black nation right up here in America. We got to change. Everything's being turned against us. You see all these events around you. All the events around you, all the current events around you. I've been talking about this for years, and now it's here. It's all here, isn't it? Right here. I've been warning us. I've been commanding us, directing us, instructing us counsel, wise words, giving now it ain't no hints, it's instructions. Care for each other. Be more friendly toward each other. Be more forgiving. All right? Love is a message. All right? Long live the spirit of my mom, Dorothy Lee Miller. She was 83. My magnificent mother. Mom, favorite song was She Used to Be My Girl, OJ. She used to be my girl. Mom would dance to that. Still, there's not too many songs she would dance to, but she would dance to that. And I would be caring for Mom, and that song came on. And my favorite song together with me and her was I Always Love My Mama. I always love my mama. She brought me in this world. That whole song was my favorite with her. But her favorite was She Used to Be My Girl. She loved that song. It's a whole lot going on, y'all. I hope y'all paying attention. I gave y'all the message. Love and care, friendship. Please, let's do this, y'all. All right? Everything is happening right now. And it's all destined. And how do we overcome it? Care and love towards each other. Let's be a solid wall. Thank you for joining me on this live. I'll leave you as I greeted you in the ancient Arabic words of peace. Assalamu alaikum. Peace unto you. Enjoy the rest of the evening. It's a beautiful day. I'm in Eisenhower Park. All praise is due to Allah. Peace.